Hello and welcome back to Video Who's Counting. So we've exported from Substance Painter. Very good. You're doing so well and you're so near the end. But you're not. And we now need to get them back into Blender. Right? So we're going to replace all of the Fisher-Price stuff with all of our nice things from Substance Painter. And hopefully this is basically what we're going to have in here. Right? Now, in Blender, we made all of these materials, right? So let's just go to the base again. Let's just simplify this for a bit. And we have in here our node editor. So if you go to shading and make sure you're on this one at least, you can put it on this one, but we haven't done any lighting and stuff, so it's going to be a bit harder to deal with. So we'll just put it on that for now. And we have three materials. We have this yellow one, we have this blue one, we have this green one. And if we click on this orb, not this slot, do not touch this slot. But if you go here, you can see all of the different ones. And this is the base, so the ones that start with base, 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 base are the ones that that are relevant for this. And if we were to click on any of them, so let's do base metal, we can see that we've got the properties for this. And we can kind of move these out. So this can get as big as you want, and if you get completely lost again, you can just press A to select it and then press that little delete key on your numpad, not the one above your arrows though, and you'll go back to it. So just like in here, when you can kind of zoom back in, you can do it on here as well. And again, don't worry about messing this up, okay? Because we can always just add a new material. It's not a problem. What you have here is you have what you're outputting to. So you're outputting to your material output. We're outputting to the surface, so what it looks like, how it reacts. And it's a BSDF. I did remember BSDF, but I can't remember it at the moment. Go Google it if you want. And this is the shader, and it deals with what the surface looks like, how the light reacts to it, and things like the metallicism, roughness, the color, which we're going to get from all of our exported things. So you should hopefully also have a folder that looks a bit like this and has all of your textures in, which I'm using. It's on the other screen. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this, and I always firmly believe that you should learn the hardest way first, and then once you're more confident, start using the easier ways. So that's what we're going to do, and I apologize for it. Now, nodes can be connected and they can be disconnected quite easily, and you can drag bits out and it will say, what do you want here? And they'll say, I want some noise here, and there we go, and it'll go, there we go, and then I can play with this and do all of these things, and then I can say, no, what I want to do is I want to mix things up a bit, and I want this in here and all sorts, and that now goes in there, and we can kind of play around with some of the values, and we can keep adding nodes and keep putting nodes in between and putting them over here and all sorts. So that's a node editor. It can be quite intimidating, but it's quite friendly after a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of here. So we're left clicking and dragging, and we're just going here. And I'm going to type image, and I'm going to image color. And once again, my keyboard shortcuts aren't working. You just sometimes got to scare it into working again. Okay, so now this gives me a little node that says I am an image texture, but I don't know which texture I am. So I'm going to go to open, and I'm going to go into my textures folder, which I just made. You have a lot of them, so it's always nice just to keep them, in somewhere sensible. And you need to keep them there after you've connected them. That's very important. So if you're working on a larger project, have a project folder, have a textures folder in it, and anytime you export textures, put them in there, and then just keep them in there and you'll be okay. So this one is the which material am I playing with at the moment? Not the right one, that's for sure. I want to play with base metal. There we go. Okay. And I want to do type for the image again. I can also, if I want, I can do Shift A to add, and I can search for that image texture, or I can do add. Where is it? So texture, image texture, there. And I'm going to open this up. So this is the base metal, and it's the color. So now I go open, I go to my textures, I look for base, so it's not the arm, it's the base metal, and then I look for the color, base metal color. There we go. So that matches this, and I click that. Okay, and now you can see that it's magically imported this part. It's got the color on it, okay, but it hasn't got everything else, so you can just close it up. That's fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to add another one. And before I do this again and again, I'm just going to do Shift D, and I'm going to stick that over there. And now I'm going to open the metallic one. So I want to go open, textures, and it's the base metal metallic. And I'm going to put that over there. Now one thing I might want to do, because this is a grey input, it's black and white, so here in the colour space I might want to come back down here and say non-colour, just so that I get sort of a bit more accurate detail on that. And because I know I'm going to want a few more, I'm just going to copy that again, and I'm going to put this on roughness. I now know what I'm doing. I'm looking for roughness on the base, so base metal roughness, and there we go. And because that's black and white as well, and we know that because it's got a grey input, there we go. And then the last one is the normals. Now normals are a little bit special, again too long to go into, so but I'll just, it basically needs color, not black and white. So here, base metal normal, there we go. We don't select that because this is a purple input, so we need one more. If we search for normal, and we need a normal map, and what that's going to do is it's going to take the values here on the color, it's going to map them in 3 directions and then put them on there, so that our Blender hopefully knows what it's playing at. So now that looks okay. Look, we can see it kind of responding to the environment that it's in, and it's using all of these properties reasonably well, but it's not quite right because we did a load of really tasty UV unwrapping. We want a little more detail in here, so I'm going to go to the left here, because the thing that we're going to make is going to plug into all of these, so it needs to be on this side. So we're going to go here and we're going to look for a mapping, and we're also going to look for a texture coordinate. Okay, so you'll notice that this, if I zoom in, doesn't have any inputs on the left, so it can't go this side of this because we can't plug it in anywhere. So that must mean that this goes on this side, and this will plug into these. So what we'll say is, because we UV unwrapped it and we want to use the UVs, we're going to stick that on those. There we go. And this we're going to stick into these. And then hopefully, although it's not looking like it right now. No, that wasn't, sorry, that wasn't meant to go there. That was only meant to go there. There we go. Okay. So what we could do, if we wanted to, is sometimes you put a texture in. If you're doing something seamless, repetitive, things like that, and it doesn't quite look right, you might come in here and go, actually, I want this to look half the size. So same, it's map, so you take that off. But yeah, I want my texture, it doesn't work because this isn't seamless, but I want it to be, you know, bigger, or I want it to be like smaller or whatever. But for now, we're just going to leave it as it is, like that. So this is it is a basic setup, but it's not basic to do. There are faster ways of doing it, and I think that as soon as that's now recorded, you can go back and you can have a look at that, or I'll put it like that so you can have a quick screenshot so you can refer back to it if you want. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll go to the quick way of doing it. So the quick way of doing it is actually using an add-on. And before we do that, I'm just going to click on here, and I'm going to go to base. We didn't use MISC, so I'm going to go to the rubber. Right, so we've got a brand new one, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go to Edit Preferences. Now this has changed slightly, so if you have an older version of Blender, you can just go to add-ons, and these are kind of all of the additional features that you can sort of add. These are some of the ones that I've got in here already. When you try to add something on, if it's not already included in Blender, then you need to go to Get Extensions to download it. So if you can't see Node Wrangler, which is this one here, in here already, go to Get Extensions, allow access, and then type in Node Wrangler. So it's just doing its thing, but it won't come up because I've obviously already got it. But normally you'll be able to kind of look through all of these, and any of these that you like the look of, you can click install. But I've already got it. If you don't have it, then install it, and make sure that the box is ticked. Now, one of the cool things with Blender add-ons is if you go here, you can click on this and it will take you to the documentation, and that includes how to use it and what it's for and how to get the best out of it, which is really helpful. So now that that's ticked, I can go back here. Remember that this is the base rubber. Okay, remember which one it is, because you're going to need to go and check it in a minute. Click on this, make sure it's got the white border around it, and press Control-Shift-T. Okay, now this will come up. This is your kind of browser. I can go to my textures. It's the base rubber. So I need to go to base rubber. Here we are. And I'm going to select all of the ones that have base rubber in. Okay, so it should be 5. And I'm going to click Add It, Principal Texture Setup. And boom, there we go. So it's now all added in. You can see, it's got our coordinates into our vectors, vectors into there. Our normal goes into a normal map, which is fine, goes into normals, and it even sets up a displacement for us, which sometimes we use, sometimes we don't. And you can see now that that kind of rubber is looking, rubber's looking pretty shiny. We can always adjust that a little bit just by manually changing the metallicism values. And then we've got shiny metal. So make sure the white border's on it. Control-Shift-T. Base shiny metal. Color, height, metallic, normal, roughness. And we're going to add those in, and there we go. Okay, so that, don't worry about if it's a little bit shiny or whatever, or if it looks a little bit off, but it should look kind of how it looks in here, right? It's a different rendering engine. It's always going to look slightly different, and we're not using the proper rendering engine we want in Blender yet, but that's for another video. If I told you now, then what would be the point in another video? So what you want to do is just go through. Remember that you've got the still in isolate mode, so we need to select this as well, and we need to go through all of the ARM ones. ARM metal, Control-Shift-T, ARM metal, not MISC, just ARM metal. There we go. There's another one. Remember, not the slot, just this one. ARM plastic, on plastic. There we go, and there was one more on misc. There we go. Okay, so what we have here is a fairly good replication of what we have. Now you can tweak these and kind of play around with them. You can go back to Substance Painter. If you sometimes you'll import it and you'll go, oh, that doesn't look right, so you go back into Substance Painter and you kind of go, oh, I just want to add a bit, export that. And remember that if you only change one of them, you can go File, Export, and then just click these off and go, no, I only changed that one, so I only want to export that one. Yeah, just make sure you put them back on again in a bit. Now, one last thing before we wrap this up and sort of move on to what have we got next? We've got rigging next. As I'm just going to go back here. This I'm just going to hide because it's ugly. So we have what's called a textured object, and we've used PBR properties. So this is physics rendering. So this is sort of should look how it should look in real life. That's the way that we're trying to replicate it. But the rendering engine that we're using to display this isn't actually using that data. It's just kind of having a guess because we're using a dumb one. We want to use the smart one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our displays and we're going to go onto our rendering output. So now already you can see, well, we've got a bit more shadow, but I haven't really got much more information. And that's because we're still not using it. So we need to go over here to this little render camera kind of view, and we're going to change this from Eevee to cycles. Now if you don't have a dedicated graphics card, this could get a little sweaty, and I'm going to put this onto GPU just to, so what's going to happen is it's going to get a bit slow, it's going to get a bit noisy, but that's because there's a lot more kind of processing going on, and you can see it's still dark. Let's just go here and turn that off. There we go. So that was this drop down box here, and I'm just turned the scene world off just because we haven't got any lights in the scene, and I'm not going to go over lighting right now. So and now we can see what it looks like, you know, in a physically lit world. If you give it a minute to, and you can see that actually that's now looking pretty good. Okay, so good, well done. If you've got this far, save it. We're going to move on to doing some rigging and animation in the next video. So I hope you've had fun so far. If at this stage you want to spend some time going back into Substance Painter, tweaking some of your textures, now that you know how they apply, now that you know what they look like, you know, I would probably start playing more with these areas because this is a little chunky. What happens if there we go, that's looking a little better. So that's just shading smooth. So that's just a blender thing. So you don't see so much of the faces. I wouldn't mess around with the topology at this stage, just because you've unwrapped it all, and adding more data into that will be a bit of an issue. You might want to kind of just play with some of the edges, so actually cut these edges up in Substance Painter. You might want to put some more stamps on. You might want to, you know, just add some more detail around here or something. You could always put some sort of buttons on here or those types of things. Like we said earlier, put some sort of like grippy bits on there, but you don't have to, so that's entirely up to you. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next one.